Plasma cutters. Who needs them, right? They're only for rich people. Why the hell would I need one? As you can see, guys, I've got a whole huge box here full of torches and earth leads and all sorts of stuff. I really love plasma cutters. So I've probably got about 30 machines in total. Every time a new one comes out, I think to myself, Pete, do you really need that new plasma cutter? And then I go and grab the credit cards, and before you know it, I've got a new bloody plasma cutter. But they're really, really friggin' awesome, guys. Now you're gonna say to yourself, Pete, I don't need a bloody plasma cutter. I've got this. And you'd be 100% correct. Why do you need a plasma cutter if you've got a dirty big angle grinder like this? Plasma cutters are like a good beer, guys. Once you find a good beer, why go back to the old beer? And there's nothing like a good beer at the end of the bloody day. And there's nothing like the satisfying when you're blowing metal to bits. Yeah! So I've had this Dewalt angle grinder for about 5 years now. You can still buy them new. It's really, really bloody heavy. It probably weighs 7 bloody kilos. Once you've been using it for a couple of hours, it gets right up here into your shoulders, and it's like a bloody big chainsaw. If you've ever used a chainsaw for any length of time, a heavy one, it can really be hard on your back. It can give you back arseholes if you use this all friggin' day. But I mean, it's huge, and it's 4 bloody horsepower. So this is about the biggest angle grinder that I've ever had. But I started with a little baby like this, 100mm angle grinder, and it was taking me forever to do my bloody cuts. So now I thought to myself, Pete, you need a bigger angle grinder. That's why I brought this sucker. So if you watched any of my previous videos, you know that I drive a skip truck or a dumpster truck, depending where you are in the world. So I started making dumpsters. What I was doing is I brought quite long sheets of sheet metal like this. Some of them were actually 3 meters long, depending what size dumpster I was making. And I was using that big angle grinder to cut it all up into strips, so I could weld it together on my bins and do whatever I wanted with it. And this would be the thinnest stuff that I'd cut. So this is only about 109mm. So it's only really a little bit thicker than ship metal. So you'd think a big angle grinder like this is gonna cut this into strips, no worries at all, wouldn't you? Well, it does, but it takes bloody forever, and it's friggin' noisy. Here, I'll show you. Did you notice we've only got about bloody 3 inches cut? And what I think's happened, the centre of the disc has just shit itself as well. See that? I wonder why it's done that. See, the inside of the disc has just shit itself. So I had to go down the hardware store to buy a new one. So this disc cost me $9.50. So remember that, guys, we're going to do a little experiment. I'm so excited. Ooh, yep. Let's try this again. Alright, how long did that take, you reckon, guys? So we cut about 1.5 meters of the ship metal, I call it, because it's really thin. Sometimes I'm cutting 5 mil thick, so this is a really easy test. And as you can see, we've probably worn about that much off the bloody blade so far, with one cut. So now let's have a look at the plasma cutter. I can almost hear you guys saying, but Pete, this is a lot more expensive than a big grinder, plus it's harder to use. Well, maybe not. But one thing I would say, guys, unlike the angle grinder, you're gonna need a compressor to run this thing. But they're so easy to wire up, I'll show you. And if you hang around till the end of the video, I will tell you the amazing price on this machine. And you're still gonna say it's dearer than that angle grinder, ain't you? Haha, wait and see, guys. So what we've got is an earth clamp, and the other end of it, that goes up here. Screw them in like that. Now with the Bestarc BTC 500p, I love Bestarc machines. Hey, did you ever see that ad where that guy liked the razor blades so much I bought the company? Well, I didn't buy the company, but I bought a shitload of these machines. I brought all the different series that they have, and I'd say without a word of a lie, this is one of the best manufacturers of cheap plasma cutters that there is available. And I'm talking low budget end plasma cutters. I'm not talking about the big $3,000 things. I mean, who the hell needs that? All you need is something that's reliable, that's gonna work, and you can have friggin' fun with. Yeah! So here's the other end of the plasma torch. We've got the air lead here, but this has also got a big power cable running inside it. So that goes down here. So we just screw them in there. We've got a little plug here. All that does is control the on-off switch on the torch. Like that, on-off, on-off. So that plugs in there, Pete. I tell you guys, once you use the plasma cutter, there's no going back. They're really cool. This last wire here is for your pilot arc. It's what they call pilot arc. All that means is that you don't have to touch the torch on whatever you're cutting to get the arc to start. If it's not a pilot arc, then you have to scratch your torch to get the spark to start cutting. And you might say to yourself, well, that doesn't really make much difference, Pete. But it does, trust me. Once you've been using these things a while, you don't want a scratch start, you want a pilot arc every time a coconut. I'm so excited! Plasma cutters, Pete loves plasma cutters. And you put your pilot arc wire on there. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. But like I was saying about the pilot arc, if you want to cut rusty metal, see this is quite rusty, then pilot arc will burn through the rust and you don't have to touch it. But if you haven't got a pilot arc, that means you're going to have to clear this off a little bit with a file or some sandpaper first, just to get a piece where you can make a contact so it starts cutting through. So Pete's advice is, for what it's worth, pilot arc is what you want. You want a pilot arc machine. And you know what? The first one I ever brought was non-pilot arc. This machine also comes with a 220 volt, 110 volt adapter. So you just plug it in here, depending the voltage that you're using. I think you guys in the States, you are mostly 110, I think. But here in New Zealand, we're 220 to 240. So we've got more power, yeehaw! So we plug the torch in, so now we've got to come around the back and just plug the air into it. So let's kick it in the guts. I love plasma cutting. There we go, guys. We have got 34 amp at the moment at 54 psi. So guys, if you're going to be using this on 110 volts, it's only going to crank up to about 35 amps. But that'll give you a cutting power of up to 12 millimeters on 110 volt. But if you're running it on 220 volt like me, then you can crank it all the way up to 50 amp. And that will give you a cutting thickness of up to about 16 millimeters. So guys, we'll set this up to 50 psi, 47, 48, 49, 50. And most of you guys that have got a workshop compressor should be able to handle 50 psi. 50 psi here. We're running at 220 volts, as you can see. And at the moment we're running at 39 amps. But because I'm running it on 220, I'm going to go right up to 50 amps. So we might as well have more power than what we actually need. Also on this machine, guys, we've got cut. It's set to cut now. Or we can go so it just blows air like this. You can blow your cable off or whatever you want to do. So we've got cut, we've got 4T, and we've got 2T. 2T is when you pull the trigger and let it go, the flame stops. Now if we go down to 4T, when you pull the trigger, you have to pull the trigger again to get the flame to stop. But that will only work when you're in contact with whatever you're cutting. It won't work when you hold it in midair. So 2T on, off, and then 4T if you don't want to hold the trigger and you're cutting a really long cut. And we're running at full tick. Yeah! Also guys, we've got a setting here for post time. Now post time is how long the air comes out of your consumables before the air stops, because what that does is it cools down your consumables so they don't burn out so quick. A bit like a turbo in a car. You know how a turbo's got to wind down? Well, that's the same with this. So what it does is it allows you to alter how long the air comes out of your torch before you start a new cut. So if we have a look here, we've got post time is 15 seconds, so we can turn that all the way down to 3 seconds. So if we have a look now, pull the trigger. See, that's a hell of a lot shorter than if we do it again. Post time 15 seconds, pull the trigger. See, and it's giving the consumables longer to cool down. It just saves you buying consumables so quick. It's quite a good idea. There we go. Rightio, you reckon this is going to be any better than the angle grinder? Instead of cutting straight like you can with an angle grinder, why don't I do a couple of little squiggles on the way down, and I'll do it one-handed while I'm drinking a beer. How's that? Yeah! You can even cut round bloody beer bottles. Yeehaw, Grandma! So I can almost hear the wheels ticking over. That's all very well for you, Pete, but the angle grinder's much cheaper. This angle grinder will cost you $189, but this plasma cutter here is on special offer at the moment. Hopefully, it'll still be on special offer when this video comes out for, you guessed it, $189. Yeah! Now, even when it's not on special, it's about 220, 230 bucks, which I think is a really, really awesome deal. I buy a lot of these plasma cutters, and I tell you what, this Bestarc have never let me down yet. Anyway guys, I hope this is still on special. I'll put some links in the description below. Oh, another thing guys, remember when I told you to remember the price of this disc? That was $9.50, right? And we'll probably get 10 straight cuts out of one disc if we're lucky. Because this plasma cutter machine runs one of the cheapest torches available, you can get a 50-piece set of consumables. So that's 50 bloody pieces. So you're gonna cut forever and a day for only 22 bucks, guys. That's got to be cheaper than discs any day of the bloody week, especially if you do a lot of cutting like me. Anyway, That's my thoughts for what it's worth. I'll put links in the description to all the stuff that I've talked about today. Bestarc is really cool. I love Bestarc machines. I've had some crap. Trust me, have a look at my other videos and you'll see some of the crap that I've had. Absolute diabolical. Same as usual, guys. Remember, you like my videos, subscribe. If you don't like, you can subscribe anyway. I don't care. And we'll see you next time, eh? Hope that special's still on. Bye.